don't know if we can talk about this with you, but you mentioned in the book, for example, when you were at Harvard, that you had a really terrible experience that when I read it, I was like, well, okay, where it was pretty much sexual violence. And
Mhm.
we've heard this across many different countries and universities that, let's be honest, white, male, it's very patriarchal. And in these power structures, these kind of things happen on a daily basis on campus, but no one really wants to talk about it, especially white men like myself, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I think it's in chapter 2, the story that I told to kind of illustrate some of the very traditional hierarchical, patriarchal structures was a sexual harassment experience that I had with a senior professor at Harvard when I was a postdoc there. Um, and it was very traumatic, and the university basically wants to similarly kind of protect the reputation of the university as their number one, right? I mean, obviously they want to make sure prevent these kinds of things from happening, but in thinking about reputation and institutional reputation, I guess, as so prevalent, um, these stories don't get told, right? And many people think, oh, that's like old, that's from the 70s, 80s. That doesn't happen anymore
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
universities, right? Because we've made so much progress. And of course, we have made progress, but there's still these structural um, issues that allow and encourage and things to be perpetuated that you wouldn't think would still be happening. So I think that also speaks to these ideas of really opening up and moving away from some of the traditional hierarchical ways of learning, sage on the stage kind of professors that can't say anything wrong and you can't challenge them and this kind of thing. And moving to more acknowledging that everyone has things to offer, right? And we can do learning more in a collective and more community engaged, right? And it's not, doesn't have to be, universities don't have to continue to have this very hierarchical structure because it really in many ways isn't serving us well because we don't end up focusing on the urgent needs of humanity, right? In many ways. So I kind of connect the personal experiences and these kind of very detailed things of what actually happens in universities with these bigger ideas about how the universities are even oriented toward um, kind of serving the public good and creating and imagining better futures. So they are related. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. What you said about, sorry, go on. Yeah.
There's a huge responsibility with a title that
Yeah.
comes with a title for individuals, for professors, as well as the institutions, and I think that isn't taken as seriously as it is. I come from medical background, from medical industry that I do call industry because it is. And that's why I'm not there anymore. But it's same like having a white coat, whatever doctor said, that is true, and they're always right. And so I think introducing, talking about it in a way that you're talking about, sharing these examples, real examples, is bringing more light into, just because it was always done that way, it doesn't mean it's right. And just because we have the title doesn't mean that we're right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's why, that responsibility as I kind of progressed in my own career and became full professor, where you don't no longer have to be um prove yourself, I guess, like there is this whole moving up
Yeah.
the ladder. Um, but then you realize how much responsibility and power and privilege, right, that comes with that. And and recognizing that so many things that are going on are not necessarily, as you said, not necessarily recognizing both the responsibility and the potential for impact and having kind of more of a transformative impact. So, and I think that that also relates to, you were mentioning kind of scholar activism, and who decides and when do we decide to be kind of activists. And one of the things that I think is really important is, especially for, you know, scientists and there's this and other academics and business people as well, like people kind of think of you know, that there's somehow we can be neutral, right? Like, oh, we're just doing the science. We're just saying what we found. We're not going to talk about what it means, or, you know, there is this culture of to not get involved in the implications. But one of the things that I think is becoming more and more apparent to many of us is that there is no neutrality, right? Like if you do the science and you come up with and you publish and you say this is it, but you don't actually do that next step of saying, well, this means this, and I want to get involved in the policy advocacy, so, you know, then you're still that's a political stance to not, you know, to get involved in the political part of it. So that is one of the things I think that from early on in my career, because I started as a scientist, my PhD was in environmental science and engineering, and I saw all of these scientists doing amazing research, but they would stick in their lane, you know, with their scientific research and actually get narrower and narrower rather than stepping out and getting involved in the implications of the science. And that was quite frustrating for me to see. And I didn't want to do that myself. So I kind of switched and became more very interdisciplinary, doing more policy relevant work and social science connected to the physical science or the engineering and technical science. And so I think there is a myth that there is a neutral, unbiased kind of work that goes on in universities, and I don't think that is. I think everything is a stance, right? Like whether you engage, how and when you choose to engage, even if you think you don't, you just want to stick with the conventional way of doing research or teaching. You know, that is a political position as well. So I think that that's an important point that is coming up a lot still, you know, very current. These are very current issues. And so, yeah, hopefully the idea is with the book is really to catalyze new conversations, right, about some of these things so people can open up a little bit and think differently, and maybe some may engage differently. Yeah.